When it comes to video games, few titles have left such a lasting impression on me as Resident Evil 4. From the moment I first stepped into the shoes of Leon S. Kennedy, I knew I was in for an unforgettable journey. The game's cast of characters, both friend and foe, are some of the most memorable in the industry. The relentless enemies, each with their own unique abilities and weaknesses, kept me on the edge of my seat. The game's intense action, gripping storyline, and terrifyingly realistic enemies all combine to create an experience that I will treasure forever. It's a true masterpiece that has stood the test of time and remains one of my all-time favorite games. The characters and the enemies are so well developed, the graphics are still impressive, and the gameplay is so satisfying. It's not just a survival horror game, it's a game that has set the bar for the entire genre. And speaking of those enemies, let's dive into my top 10 favorite bosses and enemies from Resident Evil 4. These are the ones that stood out the most for me, and also gave me the most intense moments. So let's get started. First up at the list, at number 10, is the GARRADORS.
¿Qué carajo estás haciendo aquí? ¡Lárgate, cabrón!
Sorry to have bothered you.
The GARRADORS are a group of villagers who have been infected with the mind-controlling parasite called Las Plagas. As a result, they become aggressive and hostile towards the player. What makes the GARRADORS so iconic to the game is their unique behavior and design. They're not just mindless zombies, but rather human-like enemies that behave in a realistic and unpredictable manner. They work together in groups to try to surround and overpower the player, and use weapons and tools to attack. They are also designed to look like normal villagers, which adds to the horror and tension of the game as the player never knows who might be infected and turn on them. Overall, the GARRADORS are considered to be one of the most iconic and memorable enemies in the Resident Evil series, and their inclusion in the game helped to make Resident Evil 4 one of the most critically acclaimed and successful entries in the series. Next up on the list at number 9 is the CULTISTS.
¡Mátalo!
Also known as Castle GARRADORS, these talkative bastards have a more sinister appearance than the village GARRADOR. They wear hoods and robes, making them look like members of a religious cult. They're also more heavily armed than the village GARRADORS, and are often equipped with crossbows and other ranged weapons that make them a greater threat to the player. They are more organized and strategic in their attacks. They use traps and ambushes to try to take down the player. They also use the castle's architecture to their advantage, using the high walls and towers to snipe the player from a distance. What also makes them stand out in my opinion is the shit that they say. The entire time they're trying to kill you, in Spanish they say things like "Morir es vivir" and other weird stuff, which more or less translates to "dying is living." Additionally, their appearance, behavior, and the environment where they are encountered all contribute to creating a more intense and eerie atmosphere, which adds to the horror and tension of the game. Overall, the CULTISTS are a memorable and iconic part of Resident Evil 4, and their inclusion in the game helps create a more intense and challenging experience for the player. Number 8 on the list, El Gigante. El Gigante are brutish creatures that are heavily affected with the Las Plagas parasite. The El Gigante is known for their massive size and strength, making them a formidable and challenging opponent for the player. The El Gigante is a result of a failed experiment by Los Illuminados. These golem-like creatures struggle to differentiate between friend and foe. Though the giant is nearly indestructible, the key to defeating them lies in targeting the parasite on its back. By relentlessly attacking the El Gigante and causing it to drop to its knees in pain, the parasite will be exposed and vulnerable to attack. It's crucial to strike them quickly, as the parasite will retrieve back into the host's spine if not defeated in time. Additionally, the El Gigante are often presented as a set-piece boss, meaning the game's level design is built around the boss fight, creating an epic feel to the battle. The game often uses the camera angles, lighting, and sound effect to create an immersive and memorable experience while fighting it. Overall, El Gigante is considered to be one of the most iconic and memorable bosses in the Resident Evil series, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how much scarier they will be in the remake. Number 7 on our list, MENDEZ. Also known as the
Big cheese. What?
He's a large, heavily built man with a distinctive appearance. He wears a trench coat, has a long beard, and an artificial left red eye. He is known for his imposing stature and his extraordinary resistance to firearms. He is fast and quiet despite his size, and he has the ability to sneak up on the player. He also has superhuman strength. When you finally fight him, MENDEZ transforms into this large centipede-like creature. You have to shoot him in his center in order to reach phase 2 of the battle. His second form makes for a more challenging and memorable fight for the player. In this form, MENDEZ has more powerful attacks, and he's more difficult to damage. The player must dodge his attacks and look for an opportunity to attack the weak points. And the player must use the environment to their advantage, using the barn structure to avoid MENDEZ's attacks, as MENDEZ actually climbs the wood beams to get closer to the player. This boss battle with MENDEZ is considered to be one of the most intense and memorable moments of the game, and requires the player to use their skills and strategy to defeat him. Number 6 on our list, GARRADOR. The GARRADOR is a particularly strong ganado who carries an implanted, manipulated form of the plaga parasite on its back. His body is immune to pain everywhere except for the spot where the plaga is implanted, which is his weak point. Hitting this spot makes the GARRADOR stagger. His eyes have been sewn shut during the painful operation, and he's fully relying on his hearing, which is acute. The GARRADOR's heightened hearing, strength, speed, and those gigantic claws make them a challenging and memorable enemy in the game. Before we move on to number 5, if you are enjoying this video so far, please leave a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of these videos in the future. Alright, back to the list. Next up at number 5, we have Dr. Salvador.
Chainsaw.
Also known as the Chainsaw Man, this walking battle tank is a reoccurring enemy that appears multiple times throughout the game. He's known for wearing a rice bag over his head, and his use of a powerful chainsaw as a weapon, which he wields with deadly proficiency. What makes Dr. Salvador memorable and iconic to the game is his unique design and behavior. He's a human-like enemy, but his use of the chainsaw and his relentless pursuit of Leon makes him stand out amongst the other enemies in the game. I mean, the first time you encounter this guy is truly terrifying. He's also very durable, requiring the player to deal significant damage to take him down, which makes fighting more intense and challenging. Overall, Dr. Salvador's unexpected appearances, relentless pursuit, and the chainsaw make him one of the most iconic and memorable enemies in Resident Evil 4. Coming up next at number 4, we have the Iron Maiden. The Iron Maiden is a towering monstrosity that is covered in deadly spikes, which it can extend in no time at all. The Iron Maiden's main method of attacking is by drawing its victims close and impaling them on its spikes. Its strong exterior makes it difficult to damage with firearms, making it more challenging for the player to defeat. The Iron Maiden's imposing appearance, deadly spikes, and disgustingly looking exterior make it stand out as one of the most creepy enemies in all of the Resident Evil series. Up next at number 3, we have VERDUGO. Also known as the Executioner, is a monstrous and powerful boss that is able to withstand a large amount of damage and has a variety of attacks. It's a tall, muscular creature with elongated limbs, a long, sharp tail, and a pair of sharp claws. It is able to move quickly and agilely, making it difficult to avoid its attacks. The only way of defeating this boss is by either dealing an extreme amount of damage by using either an RPG or grenades or weapons like that, or the player can knock over the red liquid nitrogen canisters scattered all around the area to freeze the creature and render it temporarily vulnerable for a few seconds. As it's frozen, the player would then shoot the creature with all of its artillery. The player can also kick Verdugo via action command when it's initially frozen. You can also escape this battle, but it does take a little while, and it could be very, very difficult to avoid this enemy. The Verdugo's unique appearance and behavior and the way it's fought make it another memorable and iconic boss in the game and the series. Coming up at number 2, we have Jack KRAUSER.
Been a long time, comrade.
KRAUSER.
KRAUSER is a major character in the game. He's a former comrade of Leon's and a skilled special operations soldier. He's responsible for one of the coolest cutscenes in the game and overall has a really cool design. During the main confrontation with KRAUSER at the Sand Fortress, the player sees the full extent of his powers as he mutates his left arm into a wing-like weapon capable of deflecting bullets. This makes the battle with KRAUSER one of the most challenging and memorable moments in the entire game. KRAUSER's characterization, unique abilities, and the way he is fought make him one of the most memorable and iconic characters in all of Resident Evil. He's an important part of Resident Evil 4's plot, and his battle with the player is a major highlight of the game. And finally, at number 1, the Regenerators. These freaking things are considered by many fans, and me included, as the scariest enemies in the game. They are tall and eerie creatures with elongated limbs and have a plaga parasite embedded in different parts of their body. Not to mention that these freaking things are capable of regenerating lost body parts within seconds, making them one of the most formidable enemies in the game. The only real way to deal with these fuckers is to locate the thermal scope, attach it to your sniper rifle, and try to do your best to locate Las Plagas on its body before it frickin' kills you. The Regenerators' unique appearance in the game, their behavior, and the way they're fought, in my opinion, make them the most memorable and iconic enemy in the game. They are formidable opponents that require the player to use their skills, weapons, and strategy to defeat them. Well, that about wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed this list, and if you're a fan of the game like me, please let me know your own favorite enemies and bosses from Resident Evil 4 in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. And until next time, stay safe and stay motivated.